What's up, everybody? Metal Dave here, along with my co-host Jason McMaster, bringing you another episode of the Talk Louder podcast. Today, we are going to have Jason recap his recent visit to Germany, where he performed at the Keep It True Metal Festival as the frontman for the newly reunited SA Slayer. And I think most of our viewers and listeners are familiar with SA Slayer, but if not, a quick little recap. SA Slayer was a band born in San Antonio, Texas, hence the SA, in the early 80s, inspired by Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and the entire new wave of British heavy metal movement. Broke up around 85, put out an EP called Prepare to Die, put out a full-length album called Go for the Throat. And they were around at a time when the LA Slayer was also getting started. So at the time, the two bands were relatively unknown, fairly obscure, and the LA Slayer and the SA Slayer had to come to some sort of settlement, agreement, whatever the case may be. And
well, to be clear, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm not the archivist and, soothsayer of everything SA Slayer.
Right.
But I know some couple things. And they were already, to be clear, they were already broken up. They were already broken up when Go for the Throat came out. They had recorded it, but it never came out because of what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
They were already broken up, and the idea was it was the end of 84, and they were pretty much already, Don and Dave had already, and Cooper had already been writing tunes with Mark Reale from Riot.
Right.
And calling it Narita, and they had already been playing shows and shit under the name Narita.
Mm-hmm.
And, at some point, I think Bobby Jarzombek was involved in Narita or a version of it as well. Once again, don't quote me on that because it was a thing where they had already sort of done other things, right?
Right.
Bob Catlin was in Juggernaut for a hot minute. All of these other things, whether it was local or global. So the end of 84, they were starting to wrap it up, and it was kind of a done deal. And then a promoter was, a talent buyer, if you will, was getting calls about a show for this band called Slayer that was brand new. And he's like, wait a minute, you mean there's another Slayer? And then you think like that, and he goes, wow, ding, ding, wouldn't it be cool to have this Slayer open for that Slayer and have this big party and call it Slayer versus Slayer?
Right.
This is long before SA Slayer. That didn't come about until, I want to say my friend Chris Liebengut got the master tapes from Dave Risher at Hogwild, who ended up with the Go for the Throat masters.
Mm-hmm.
He and Chris Liebengut, Swiss Chris, ended up with those masters from Dave Risher and decided to put it out on his own because it's a badass record, and it would have been a sin for it to just rot.
Right, right.
And eventually it came out. I don't know a release date, but I'm sure the internet knows. But it would have been late 80s, early 90s, I think.
Yeah, I think I saw 88 somewhere.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. And then, let's see, the other thing is if you read Wikipedia and such, it says, and it's just wrong, that Brian Slagle from Metal Blade had sent a cease and desist to San Antonio Slayer. That never happened.
Right.
Like I said, they were already sort of doing their own thing. Everybody in SA Slayer was already doing their own thing.
Right.
Or about to. They were already, oh, let's do it one last time, and da, 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 da. I think they reunited one time in 1985, and that would have been the final.
Yeah.
So, just to clear up your intro there about SA Slayer, and that was really good, man. You have it down.
Well, we've had members of SA since the band is reunited for Hell's Heroes and the Keep It True Festival. In anticipation of that, we've had former members of SA Slayer on this podcast. So anyone interested in that can go check out our archives. We've had Donnie Van Staveren, who's the bass player. We've had Art Villarreal, who was the original guitar player. We've had Bob Catlin, who was an original guitar player. So for all intents and purposes, SA Slayer has been disbanded basically since '85. And then suddenly there's interest from promoters at the Keep It True Metal Festival here in Houston, Texas.
No.
And no, I've got that wrong.
Keep It True is Germany.
Right.
And you just said Houston. Hell's Heroes is Houston. That's all right. That's all right.
Correct. Yeah.
That's all right.
So
we don't even need to edit that shit out. It's okay.
No. After you just got done saying that I had it all down.
No, it's okay. But you're not wrong. Christian
Right.
from Hell's Heroes, if I may, once again, because this is good shit. Is his name Jasper from Night Demon? Am I saying that right?
No, Jarvis Leatherby.
Jarvis Leatherby. I always call him Jasper, and I've hung out with Jarvis 1,000 times, and I always call him Jasper. Jarvis Leatherby. Thank you, Dave. Jarvis Leatherby has been friends with Dave McLean, drummer, SA Slayer, Machine Head, Sacred Reich, and many more. And Don Van Staveren for years and years and years because of the Machine Head connection. I think Jarvis has done 1,000 gigs with Dave and 1,000 gigs with all globally with both Dave and Don. And he's involved in the community. Jarvis is. And he's been tour manager and booking agent and bass player and songwriter and you name it. We were in San Antonio. I think I was there with Igniter doing something. And Jarvis pulled me aside and he goes, "Hey, man, it's been coming." This was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And he says, there's been a bunch of talk sort of in like late night hangs with Dave and Don, and your name keeps coming up as far as the SA Slayer reunion idea, just on paper. That sketch always ends up with you fronting. And I'm like, wow, it's an honor. Both of those guys have brought it up to me before. There's other guys they could get around here that would work. But they don't even bring those guys up. So I'm beside myself by saying that, the whole I'm not worthy thing. And I feel like I am worthy, of course. There was a great connection with me and the SA Slayer guys as early as '83. So
sure. Yeah, you guys were basically peers, Watchtower.
That's right.
Different cities, but very much peers. Watchtower, SA Slayer, Juggernaut, Militia.
That's right. And 2 years after the official last SA Slayer show with Steve on vocals, etc., Watchtower got Ron in the band. Ron Jarzambek joined Watchtower. So there's still been this sort of bleeding family.
Right.
So yeah, I was, right place, right time happened 40 years ago. So they haven't done a gig in 40 years. And this has been something that's sort of behind the scenes, being sort of like in a crock pot.
Right.
Heavy metal crock pot.
Stewing, yeah.
And
marinating.
Yeah. So, go back again, the infamous Slayer versus Slayer, it wasn't a war or a battle for the name. There was no cease and desist. It was just like oh shit, there's another Slayer, and their record is they're on a real label, and I can find it in the record store right now, and blah blah blah. And, you know, Don and Dave may have something to say about that, but Dave's friends with those. You know, Dave knows those guys because he spent 25 years in the Bay Area playing in Machine Head. You know,
Right.
he knows those guys. You know, anyway. So it's not this like, oh man, you're the fucking guy in the other Slayer. You know, none of that was ever a thing. And if you go back and watch especially the Bob Catlin episode, he tells the greatest stories about him doing the Slayer in-store as an employee at the record store they were doing the in-store at, and hanging with them all day, and they don't even know that he's in the band, the Slayer that's opening for them the same night. It's fucking incredible. And you can't make that shit up.
Right.
So it's interesting.
So to bring it to the present day, so SA Slayer basically has been disbanded since '85, and
40 years.
40 years. And so you were asked to step in because Stephen Cooper, the previous singer, passed away in 2006. And of course, you mentioned the pedigree. It's funny. It's interesting that this little band out of San Antonio, the pedigree is just crazy because Dave McClain has gone on to greatness, one of the best metal drummers out there. As you said, 20 some years with Machine Head, 2 different stints with Sacred Reich, currently in Sacred Reich.
That equal decades.
Yeah.
So we're talking 40 years of him working with 2 full-on name thrash bands.
Yeah,
international thrash bands. Yeah.
And then Donnie has been in Riot since the late 80s. You know, he's been carrying that torch for decades.
And that goes back, that goes back to the Narita stuff that I was talking about when Mark Reale. It's funny how simpatico, the Riot thing and the SA Slayer thing are sort of this one sort of like grapefruit.
Lots of overlap.
Yeah, sort of this like, you know, very strange colliding of worlds and complementary, if you will. So, I mean, if 40 years ago, Don Van Stavern and Mark Reale are from Riot are in SA Slayer's rehearsal garage, if you will, writing what would end up be songs that are on Riot albums proper, and then end up writing Thundersteel together, which is a game changer of an album because it kind of created American power metal. That's an arguable statement, I know. Please don't throw rocks.
It's a contender for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know,
with a connection between New York and Texas, which is not, you don't hear about New York and Texas in the same sentence, creating some sort of new germ of some kind of new power metal.
Yeah, a lot of people view that album Thundersteel as a new era and a new chapter for Riot, not only in terms of the lineup, but in terms of the sound of the band.
Yeah, and at some point along the way, they started calling it Riot 5, and they were just trying to hold true to the name because, you know, it's a family. The guys have Mark Reale and Mark Reale's father's blessing to do it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, arguable. I mean, I'll go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room. It's like my Riot doesn't have Donnie Van Stavern in it. You know, the Riot that I grew up on doesn't. That's a new, like you just said it yourself. It's Mach 5. You know, it's a different. It's gone through all. It had to. Yeah. It had to move and groove and turn into this thing. Right. And I'll go ahead and say it now because we don't have to have any real timeline here. At this Keep It True Festival 2025, which was basically last weekend. By
the time any people are listening and watching this episode,
it would have been months
ago. Yeah.
But speaking of old Riot, Rick Ventura flew to Germany with Riot to get up on stage and play like 7 songs.
That's amazing.
So it was a 3 guitar attack and Riot at the show, and it blew people's minds. And Harry Conklin, the Tyrant, who's in Jag Panzer and Satan's Host and all these other bands. In the interim, I think in the 90s somewhere, he sang on a fucking Riot album.
Oh, wow. Yeah. He's, I recall seeing his name.
Oh, yeah.
As I don't want to say footnote because that diminishes his contribution, but he was there. It was very brief, but he definitely,
I think he did one record.
He's part of the Riot story.
Yeah, in the 90s, and he's from, Jag Panzer is from Colorado, and, you know, he's had a million bands, and he still does, and I think that one of his bands even opened for the Toys in, like, Colorado Springs in, like, the early 90s or something, and he remembers it, because I talked to him, of course, and he was like, man, I remember you. You guys came through, your Dangerous Toys came through Colorado, and we did a show, and we talked a little bit. And I was like, yeah. But he got up and sang a couple songs, and it was just a big party. So not to confuse, Don Van Stavern did double duty on that Friday of Keep It True. He played at like 6:30 with S.A. Slayer, and, you know, 9:30 with Riot.
Tell us.
Didn't even have to change clothes all day. Wore his stage clothes all day because he's busy.
Tell us about the response. First of all, and you've done Keep It True in the past with Watchtower, right?
Yeah, but to go back, I mean, we rehearse a couple times. We go do the Hell's Heroes, which was in March.
Yeah,
and into March, and then this gig is the end of April. So, you know, Dave McClain, we didn't really even rehearse with him. He just showed up and played he knows he can play the songs with one hand.
Because he lives in Arizona?
No.
Where's he?
He lives in Oshkosh.
Which is where?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, okay.
Come on, guys. I'm going to test your...
I'm not up on my geography today.
Test your state maps here. Yeah. What is the capital of Wisconsin? I don't think it's Oshkosh, but yeah, Dave's in Oshkosh.
Okay. So you guys, there's some interest from promoters to put S.A. Slayer back together. You guys decide to do it. You do Hell's Heroes. You go to Keep It True in Germany. How many people show up to a Keep It True festival in Germany? This is like the 25th annual, I think.
It is.
Going on for years, decades.
Oliver Weinsheimer has been doing it for 25 years, and he has an offshoot of the same festival where he can do it twice a year now. Keep It True Rising, which Watchtower Without Me did Keep It True, which is in Laude Königshofen, which is where it's like an hour from Frankfurt, and that's where S.A. Slayer was with Riot and Solitude Aeturnus and everybody. That's where Keep It True is, and then Keep It True Rising they do at a different venue. And Watchtower did Keep It True Rising in 2023, October. And that was before we did Hell's Heroes, even though Hell's Heroes had booked Watchtower to do a reunion prior to the phone ringing. Hi, it's Oliver. Can you do Keep It True Rising? And shit, that's in October. That's in like 2 months. And before, it's like we get booked for March next year kind of a thing. And the phone rings from Germany and they want us to play a couple months earlier. So, 3 months earlier.
Okay.
So it's interesting that Oliver has this, 25 years he's been doing it. And it's an incredible, here's what I wanted to say. It sells out before people even know what bands are on it.
Yeah,
it sells out 6-7 months in advance because it's a culture.
Right. I saw somewhere online that the 2026 festival is almost already sold out, and I don't think they've named a single band yet.
It's 70 or 80% sold out. And Oliver goes on and does the postings himself talking about the popularity of it by way of ticket sales. And it's like, we haven't even announced the headliners for either night, or even who's on the pre-party, because they always do a Thursday night pre-party, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's already, 70% sold out or whatever. So it's a culture.
Yeah.
It's a festival. It's a metal market. You can buy swag and records and CDs and collectibles and patches and buttons. It's heavy metal heaven, man.
Yeah. So you were. So do you know what the attendance is for that event?
At Keep It True Rising at the venue, which is super nice, and I can't remember where the name of that venue, but it's a little bit more of a proper concert venue, the one that Keep It True Rising is in. Mm-hmm. They have, it's the same festival type staging, but the venue is set up a little bit more like here you go, Keep It True official festival in Lauda Königshofen is a sports arena that holds about 2,300.
Okay.
2,500 maybe. And then I apologize. Keep It True Rising is like a solid 3,000 capacity.
Okay.
And it's a little bit bigger and maybe more modern of a concert venue.
Yeah.
And the Keep It True again is like an airplane hangar, sort of gymnasium, sort of like indoor soccer, basketball type of a place.
Okay.
It's big. It's big. It holds, but they take the bleachers out, and so it's just a big gymnasium kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I've done that room twice, and I've done Keep It True Rising once. Watchtower Without Me did Keep It True in Lauda Königshofen, and they did that with Alan. I can't even remember when that was, 2012 maybe, something like that.
So what does your set look like? What's your set list for SA Slayer? How long are you on stage? And
I can hold one up to the camera if you want.
Well, yeah, or just tell us, because a lot of people are listening.
Okay, well, what do you want to know? I'll tell you.
How many minutes were you on stage? And what?
It's 45.
45 minutes. And you were telling me that you were like, you weren't direct support, but you were support for direct support. You were like third before the headliner or something, right?
Are you talking about SA Slayer at Keep It True?
SA Slayer. Yeah.
No, it was. I think there was 3 bands between us and Riot.
Okay, and Riot was headlining. So
correct. That's on the Friday night.
Pretty good for a band. For a band that hasn't been around since '85, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good slot.
Yeah, we did a signing, and that was a line of about 100 people.
Yeah, tell us about that, because you told me a great story about everything there was a bottleneck at Dave McClain.
Yeah, he was. I think the way the line was hitting the table would have been Ronnie, Bob, Don, me, and Dave.
Okay.
And I kept looking at Dave. This is me, like the self-doubting, like, I'm the guest singer here, and, I'm not on those records. You know what I mean?
Right.
The thing is, and a lot of collectors are really anal retentive about, you're not on this, so you're not signing this. And I am I'm like that. I get that. I understand that.
Yeah.
But I kept looking at Dave McClain and going, so he wants me to sign this shit. And he's like, you're signing it. Dave is my biggest cheerleader as far as like, dude, you got this. You're right. When have any self-doubt, because I felt the same with the Accept and the Armored Saint guys. It's like, man,
you feel weird signing something.
Yeah, to just
sing on.
I'm in the signing with Accept and Armored Saint, and I'm not signing shit. I don't want to sign anything unless that person who's bringing a stack of stuff to get signed puts something down in front of me. Now, with Armored Saint and not so much with Armored Saint and Accept, but if anyone who was coming to the meet and greets heard that I was going to be there, they bring a Toys record. They bring a Toys something or a Watchtower something.
Right.
And bless them. And I get up and I hug them. I'm like, oh my God, you're bringing matches into the gasoline factory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're bringing, this is not even, you know, you and I are having a moment, you know.
Right.
Like the Accept guys are probably, and Armored Saint guys, like Saint guys might be different. I don't know, but if they saw a Watchtower or Toys, they might be like, oh, what? Oh, right. Oh, right. There might be like a blip in their.
Right. It's like,
why do you have that here? Oh,
now.
and they, right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this.
What's the most obscure thing? Like it's apparent, it's obvious that, you know, somebody's going to show up with a Dangerous Toys or Igniter, but has anyone shown up with like a Howling Sycamore or, Cassius King vinyl?
Oh yeah. And like, so, you know, to answer your question, you know, Ronnie was signing Blotted Science and Spastic Ink and Watchtower as much as the SA Slayer stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you have to remember, he's not on Prepare to Die.
Right. He did
Art Villarreal is.
Right.
Who couldn't make these shows for, you know, family, you know, his mother had passed and
right.
And I think that's not common knowledge, but that was the reason why, because the original idea was we were going to do 3 guitars and it was going to be this family thing. And then it was, you know, life got in the way. Right. And so bless his heart.
Yeah.
Now, so Ronnie's signing, you know, and he's done shit I don't even know that he's on. He's on a lot of projects.
Yeah.
Somebody may have even printed out a picture of him on stage with Marty Friedman and he signed it, because people do that.
Yeah.
They'll like it's not a bootleg because they're not selling it, but they'll print out 6 copies of one photo they found on the internet on nice photo paper and have us sign them all. Who knows? I don't even want to know what they're doing with them.
Right.
Sell them eBay. I don't know. Is that a thing? Anyway. So then Bob's just so cool and so happy and so grateful.
Bob Catlin.
Bob Catlin is so grateful. You know, I have to say, as much as I am like you know, I'm not worthy kind of a thing. I'm a guest, and he feels like a guest in the house he fucking built.
Yeah.
That's how like humble Bob is. And I'm like, I look at him like funny because no, dude, you built the fucking, you know, the foundation of this whole thing.
Yeah.
He was there before Ron. He was there the whole time. Ron was not.
Yeah, that just speaks to his personality, like you said. I mean, I think he's just in awe that 40-some years later, there's still interest in this band that he created as a high school kid.
Yeah, exactly. And he's almost, did you see that picture that got posted today of him and Clive Burr? That's what I'm talking about. There's a picture floating around on the socials today. And I think it was posted by the new SA_Slayer Instagram. People, please subscribe.
Okay.
And it's a picture of Bob Catlin with Clive Burr.
Nice.
It's so good. Had to be 82.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me, so you told me a great story last week about...
Let me finish this one.
Okay.
Let me finish this one.
Yeah.
Hold that thought.
Okay.
So then you have Bob who's signing only Slayer stuff. I don't know if there was any Pigface stuff there because, dude, we're talking Nerd Fest.
Yeah.
So if they did any research and they found some Pigface shit that Bob played on, I don't know if he signed any Pigface stuff or not. Mm-hmm. Or people were asking him about Petting Zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Evil Mothers.
All that shit. Yeah, he's got a repertoire. So anyway, then there's Don, and Don's in the middle, and he's signing like 8-inch stacks of Riot shit that I've never seen before, as well as photographs. an Alcatraz record that he played bass on.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some of that. And then all the S.A. Slayer shit.
Yeah.
Bootlegs and official stuff and photographs that people, like I said, printed out and just said, here's 10 of them, sign all the, we signed fucking everything. And then there's me and I, there's quite a few people like picking it up off the table and walking by me. And I'm just looking up, smiling, going, I get you.
Right.
You can make eye contact with me. I get you. You don't have to, you're making me feel weird by not looking at me going, sorry, dude, and you don't even have to apologize. It's that whole like,
yeah, you get it. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
You're that guy.
But every other guy is throwing down Watchtower shit and Toys shit and Broken Teeth and Igniter and everything that I've done. Those people that had, stacks this high of like CD inserts, like every teeth and they had it all. So it was like my whole catalog, zippity doo dah, and everyone's waiting and not getting bent out of shape at all.
Yeah.
Well, and then there's Dave McClain, who's to my left. He's signing like foot tall, 12-inch stacks of machine heads. So these dudes are walking in with like knapsacks full of shit for Dave to sign.
Yeah.
So there's this it's like over here where's the end of the line, and then there's actually where there's a railing and the stage is just down. Like we're sort of upstairs above the stage on like a catwalk thing that goes around the venue kind of thing. Stairs at either end kind of a thing, right? The mezzanine, if you will, but it's only like, 8 feet wide all the way around. And that's where the line is.
Yeah.
And there's this like clog over here where Dave is.
Yeah.
And he signed it all, man. You have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome, that was pretty much it. But the story about Bob, you said.
Yeah. So you told me a great story about Bob Catlin. Now we're talking about guitars for S.A. Slayer. Grew up on Riot, huge Riot fan. And so he inadvertently, unbeknownst to him, shares a van ride with Rick Ventura, who shows up as special guest, as you mentioned, to join Riot. We've had Rick on this show too.
Oh, yeah.
Retell that story, because this is great.
Okay, so I have to go back a little bit. Like everyone's in the van except for me, who is on a certain time of day flight arrival, right? And I waited outside, in the arrival area for over an hour.
You're at the airport, standing on the curb.
Yep, standing on the curb at the airport in Frankfurt.
Right.
And everyone in Germany smokes.
Wow.
I mean, from me standing on the curb for an hour at the Frankfurt airport, my brain's going, God damn. And people are getting off their plane and running to this,
to smoke.
Uber, cab, bus, pickup lot in front of the airport just so they can light up.
Yeah. So you're standing in a cloud of nicotine.
Oh, I'm moving around trying to get away from it. I don't even know if people noticed that I was just like ding dong zippity doo dah, like trying to get away from it.
Right.
Because it was kind of tripping me out a little bit. And I wasn't
getting a head rush.
I wasn't into it, man. I just gotta say. And that's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Respectfully, but because I'm tired.
Right.
I don't want to be annoyed, so it's just easier for me to tool around a little bit and, keep my energy up, because I'm trying to get on the German clock. They're like 6 or 7 hours ahead of us. So I didn't even go to sleep. I just stayed up. I powered through it so I could get on their clock.
How many hours is that flight?
It's like a 12-hour travel day if you count the layover in DFW or Houston or wherever you go.
Yeah.
So, you know, give an hour flight to Dallas or whatever, and then you're hanging for 2 hours. And they're changing your gate. You know, they're doing the normal fuckery.
But in the air from America to Germany, how long?
Like it's like 8 or 9 hours.
Yeah,
9 hours.
Wow, dude. I
Yeah.
go crazy. I can't.
Yeah. I hear Australia is like 15.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Anyway, so I'm out on the curb and I'm on the app, you know, where the contact, where the ride and the van people, the airport, the shuttle people.
Right.
And, you know, they're saying, stay there. We're finally on the way. We had to wait for blah, blah. And it's like, I don't need to hear it. I'll just stay right here in the smoke. And they finally arrive. So the van comes and it's all blacked out. It's one of those big sprinters, right? It's all black. I can't see inside. I don't know who's in it. Am I the only one? You know, did everyone else fuck off or not? You know, so I have to get in the front seat. So I'm riding shotgun.
Right.
And when you get in those big sprinters, there's kind of a wall. Like you have to look in the back. It's like a touring sort of setup.
Yeah.
Right. Where the front seats are kind of like almost closed off. Like I don't think you can get in the front seat and go, oh, I'm going to climb back here and see what's up and go between the two No.
Right.
It might be bucket seats, but there's like a work area here. You can't crawl between the front. Anyway.
It's like an airplane cockpit. So
I have to even see who's in the van. Why am I sitting in the sidecar?
Right.
And I get in, I go to the back and I put my briefcase back there and I see that it's full of people and I have no idea who it is. And so I close the back and I get in the front, passenger side, and I close the door and I peek through the little space. I peek through there and I'm like, hey guys, and I'm looking around. And first I notice I'm looking for my guys, and I see Bob and I see Ron and the other guys. It's just Riot.
Okay.
Without Don Van Stavern. It's Riot. Someone else was missing too. Mike and Frankie. So, drummer, guitar player, lead guitar player, and then Ronnie and Bobby, and then Rick Ventura. And in my head, I couldn't recall that I saw or heard that Rick Ventura was flying all the way to Germany to play 7 songs.
Right.
But apparently they invited him to get up, and do half the show with them,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, hey guys. And Rick is closest to me because he's sitting behind the passenger seat, front seat. And I'm like looking at him and I go, hi Rick, how's it going? And he's looking at me like, hi, how do I know this guy? And I just kind of said, well, let me help. You did my podcast a couple months ago. Oh, that's right, man. That was so fun. And he remembered right away. Such a sweet guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't say, are you going to play with these guys? I just put it together in my head. I'm like, surely he's here to play,
Right.
And they're yucking it up. They're talking where it's an hour drive or whatever. And they're just yucking it all up and talking, having a great old time back there. And I'm sort of just eavesdropping and, some of it's very cool and interesting. And some of it I'm like, damn, that guy needs a nap, or whatever. And, so when we get out of the van at the hotel, this was the story that I was telling.
Yeah.
When we get out of the van at the hotel, we're all in the back of the van and I just have my briefcase and my backpack. I I don't have guitars or pedal boards or anything. And I'm helping with, a little bit, but I'm ready to get in my room because I'm kind of jacked up and I just want to splash water on my face and find some food and get my gears moving correct. And Bob runs right up to me and gets right in my face. And he goes, if you would have told 12, 13-year-old Bob Catlin that his childhood hero, Rick Ventura, was going to be climbing into a van sitting 2 feet away from me, 50 years later, I would have just shot you. And, something like that. And I'm like, dude, I know, right? I'm right there with you. This is like outer body shit. This is crazy shit. And he was so happy, and it just sort of set the mood and the color of the whole trip.
Yeah.
Just this happy, like, wow, this is great. Especially me and Bob, just because we're like that. Because, Bob doesn't do much, the last Bob went over with Art and Solis and Scott Womack and Miguel and Harlan, Juggernaut and South Texas Legion did Keep It True 5 years ago or whatever, and I think that was the last time he was on. So Bob's done that stage twice now as well.
Yeah,
with me both times.
Yeah.
And so that's great. So we were both, see what I mean? There's a little bit of this weird, like, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And,
Bob, you were telling me that Bob, to him, Fire Down Under is the pinnacle of all albums. So for him to be sitting there chit-chatting with Rick Ventura in a van all the way back to the, your destination, it's like, that's pretty cool.
Well, when your band covers another band that you love, and then you're 40 years later or 45 years later, you're in a van with them hanging out.
Yeah.
With, I used to cover your songs. This is fucked up. This is like, what?
Yeah.
But I mean, this kind of stuff happens all the time. I just saw a picture the other day, and I'm not comparing myself to Deep Purple and Metallica. Did you see that photo?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Dude. Yeah. And someone just went click, because it's not the greatest photo in the world.
Yeah, you got the back of somebody's head.
Or is it?
Oh, it's actually pretty good.
It's Don Airey, James Hetfield shaking hands with Ian Pace.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's Kirk Hammett hugging Wolf Hoffman.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I think Lars is standing behind, because there's someone with a black baseball cap. I think it's Lars behind Wolf.
Yeah. And
it's just this candid shot, and I'm like, that's the kind of shit I fucking love.
Yeah.
So, the fact that here's Metallica and in the room with Don Airey and Ian Pace and Wolf Hoffman, it's like, wait, what is going on in this photograph? Yeah. And everyone's smiling and happy and, oh my God, and on a much lower scale in some ways, maybe more of an underground version of it. Same shit is happening.
Yeah.
After our set and before Riot went on, Bob brings it up again. He says, I just can't fucking believe this shit. And I said, well, did you get a picture with Rick? He's like, no. I'm like, dude, come here. And I grabbed his shirt and I just knocked on the Riot door and I cracked the door, and Don's like, get your ass in here. Come on in. And so we just bum rushed their dressing room, and they were like, yeah, come on in. And Harry Conklin's sitting there, and they're all just tuning and jamming and hanging around, and Todd Michael Hall's there. Everyone's in there.
Yeah.
And they're just smiling and joking and having a great time. And I'm like, hey, Rick, man, is it okay if I just throw you up against Bob? And he's like, oh man, bring it on. And I go, and I looked at Rick like one of these things, and I'm like, dude, I hope you realize what this really means to Bob. He's like, oh man, that's really, because he gets it.
Sure.
He's very humble.
Sure. Yeah.
I wonder sometimes if people like him realize that he's a part of something that is sort of like
Pretty big, man.
angelic, this kind of like holy ground kind of, anyway, not to get romantic, but yeah. And so I took pictures, and they're, you know, they're in the Dropbox sent to Jared, and I hope he uses them and, you know, just floats them through this episode and makes people watch the episode and as well as listen, but watch the episode just to see the shit-eating grin on Bob Catlin's face.
Yes.
Hugging and mugging it up with Rick Ventura from Restless Breed, Fire Down Under, you know, old Riot fame.
Yeah, you could.
It's the best.
I love the photo because you could just see the joy on Bob's face. He can't contain it, you know, and I love that. I just love that. And so when you told me the story, it made even more sense, you know.
Well, so, there's some other pictures that I took that are Bob and Rick related, where Rick comes out of the, you know, we're on the side of the stage down in the galley. We can't see the front of the stage, but we can see like Mike. We can't see the drummer, one of those kind of things. We're on side stage. It's usually not the best place to watch the show, but it's comfortable.
Right.
Because it's dark and, you know, whatever. You can bring your drink, you know, and hang out. But we can see Mike and Don, and we can see Todd when he, you know, he's swaying. We can see Todd. We can see pretty much everyone on the downstage. And Rick, it's about mid-set, and Rick kind of makes his way through, you know, our shoulders and comes past and checking his tuning. And at some point, Harry Conklin did the same thing. And it's like, oh, Harry's going to get up too, you know. Mm-hmm. And Harry got up first, and then they had Rick come out. But I'm taking pictures of Bob, like, with Rick, with his Les Paul, and Bob's like, you know.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? That, you know, I was like, oh, shit, I feel the vibrations here. I'm capturing this.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I took there's a picture of Rick just, you know, chilling, waiting to go up, but it's kind of like from the flank, you know. And I took one of Bob, like Bob's big bald head, like with Riot playing in the background through the side stage view, and those are in there as well. So nice. we had a great time.
How much merch did you guys sell? Because you guys have, we should talk. There's a website, saslayer.com, where you might have to be stocked by the time this episode airs.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. Because you sold well at both Hell's Heroes and Keep It True.
Well,
right?
we sold out at Hell's Heroes, and and that was the day before we played Hell's Heroes.
Sold out the day before you played.
Yeah, because Riot had played the pre-party, the Hell's Heroes pre-party.
Right.
So Dave is with Don and Riot in Houston the night before S.A. Slayer plays, or no, 2 nights before S.A. Slayer plays. And so our shirts went up day 1 of the festival of Hell's Heroes, right? Mm-hmm. And Riot played on a Wednesday, because that Thursday Igniter opened for Riot at Come and Take It. So the Wednesday is a pre-party with Riot. And so Dave McClain and Don, they have all the Slayer merch. So they take it to Hell's Heroes, and they put it up on Thursday or Friday. No, we played Friday, I think.
Friday, Riot was in San Antonio with Saxon.
We played Saturday.
Or was it Saturday?
No, it was Friday.
Okay.
It was Friday. It was Friday. Lizzie Borden,
Riot,
Saxon. Right.
Yeah.
And Saxon played Saturday. We played the same day as Saxon, S.A. Slayer. So Riot's doing the pre-party on a Wednesday. They take the merch on a Wednesday to Hell's Heroes. It goes up on sale at least by Friday, and we play Saturday. Okay? Yeah. I get a text on Friday from Dave going, sold out of shirts. I'm not in Houston. We haven't played yet.
Yeah.
sold out our merch. I'm like, wait a minute, what? He goes, yeah, we took it up there. We took it up there for the pre-party, and they sold it. They put it up on the merch stand by Thursday or Friday. It's gone. And then the next text from Dave was like, it's okay because Don had his Riot guy, unbeknownst to me, make 50 shirts.
Okay.
So we brought those on Saturday. Those sold out on Saturday.
Right.
So maybe 150 shirts.
Wow.
Sold.
Wow.
And and most of those, 100 of those sold the day 2 days before we even played.
And you did the same in Germany?
Printed, you have an on-site printer in Europe do the printing there.
So you don't have to ship it.
Right. So they're involved with the festival. They print a lot of the band shirts over there, so they don't have to ship.
Right.
And I don't know how many I have it on my phone, but I don't know, 150 shirts, 120 shirts. I don't remember what it was, but I think there was like 27 XL left over.
Well, the logo is classic, and so you can go to saslayer.com and look for shirts and stickers and all that stuff. I'm not surprised that the merch is selling so well because
we're all stocked up now. And the iron, I want the iron to stay hot, but that kind of stuff is you guess, right?
Yeah.
But, as long as we're talking about the site and how people can go and see some cool old photos as well as some current photos and read up on how the shows went and what's going on and pick up a shirt or a sticker or both or we sold patches over in Germany as well, but they sold out.
Yeah. So, the obvious question now, especially from San Antonio fans, is going to be, I know that you didn't have anything in the works as far as additional SA Slayer gigs leading into these two festivals. Are you any further along with discussions can you talk about it or?
Of course I can talk about reasons why there's not anything on the calendar. It should be obvious if people think about it. And we sort of started the episode with, Don's on tour with Riot right now. They're in like Spain or some shit.
Yeah.
I think Dave had South America festival he's playing with Dark Angel, and he's on the road as well. They're gone.
Yeah.
So we have to find a hole in the calendar for this to work.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm busy too.
Yeah, I was going to say you're also busy, so that's a lot of busy guys in that band with other obligations and that sort of thing. But the success of the appearances at the festivals and the merch selling so well, and just sort of this re-energized buzz about SA Slayer, I know your fans in San Antonio are just chomping at the bit, I'm sure, to hear about it.
Well, it needs to happen, and everybody wants it to happen.
Sure.
But there's, I just booked 3. Watchtower's doing a 3-date Texas mini tour in September.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that could have been, a weekend of shows for SA Slayer, but it's going to, if we're not careful, it'll be next year before SA Slayer gets to do a fucking gig in San Antonio. Right.
Well, we can all keep our fingers crossed. And in the meantime, the website looks really cool, and there is cool merch there. And if you missed out on a Slayer T-shirt in 1985,
well, if you wear an XL, I mean, we're selling all sizes on the Slayer site right now. But if you wear an XL and you want to DM or just look us up and inquire about an XL SA Slayer shirt that has the Keep It True date on the back.
Oh, nice.
There's about 25 of those in existence, and they're in Oshkosh. They're stateside, so we can ship you one if you request.
Right.
I want XL Laude Königshofen, which would also say, because they put the day before the month. No, they put the month before the day.
Right.
So it would say 4.
No, 20, it would say 27/4.
It would say 20. Yeah, it would say 27. Yeah, 4 whatever. Right. 2025. Yeah,
they list the dates.
It would have the date and the venue or the city on the back, and it says "Prepare to Die" as well, which is kind of a cool collectible because they're that's it. But it's only an XL. For some reason, every other size just went zip and it was gone in a flash. But 27 people missed out on an XL, or we overprinted.
Right.
The XLs, we got the sizes off a little bit. Well, that's all right.
So, real quick, some of the other bands at the festival, Solitude Aeturnus headlined on Saturday, and
Texas all over that.
Texas
fucking
was
festival.
Totally represented in Germany, and then Vio-lence was played with you guys. Did you get to see any of their set? And
I did.
How is Sean? Because Sean,
we shared a dressing room with Vio-lence, and Dave, who spent 20 years plus in the Bay Area, he knows those guys.
Oh, right.
And Ira Black was playing lead guitar for Vio-lence.
What?
I'm hanging out with Ira Black.
Dude, that guy's played with everybody.
He's the go-to guy.
Yeah.
And he's funny and nice and real sweet. And, I see him on the Monsters of Rock cruises all the time playing with anybody and everybody.
Yeah. Last I saw him, he was playing with Dokken.
Yeah.
So he's got the longest hair in rock and roll.
Yeah. Right. He is an incredibly sweet guy.
So how is Sean doing, the vocalist for Vio-lence? Because I think he went through a cancer scare.
He did. Dude, he was down in the crowd. He's like, he might not have wings like Caton DePena, but he, from Hyrax, but he's down in the crowd. He's one of the, those thrash guys, they go ballistic on it. And, Caton will fly into the audience.
Yeah, I've seen photos.
Caton's afraid of zero, and he's all just hugging everybody and loving everybody. And Sean is scary, in the right way, because it's thrash, and Vio-lence has a different thing about them as well. They're not, how Possessed has a death metal thing, but they're still thrash.
Yeah, and
Possessed is kind of like this different kind of a thrash band, like American death metal, kind of, of course Florida, but as far as California goes, Vio-lence had some kind of something else to it, right?
Yeah.
And he's the original guy, so but he seemed all right, and he was nice. Like I said, we chatted up in the dressing room, and man, he's hanging tough. His voice sounded great, and
good.
Yeah.
Good to hear it. Well, man, I think it's amazing that, Hell's Heroes and Keep It True, these big time festivals are sort of resurrecting some of the most obscure bands, and especially Texas bands. I think it's just great that, Watchtower kind of got re-energized because of this. Now SA Slayer.
Well, you could say the same about Solitude Aeturnus.
Yeah, Solitude.
And Solitude, last year's Hell's Heroes, we played, the same day as Solitude and the same day as Queensryche. And then this year, Solitude was not on it, but they headlined the second night, the last night of Keep It True.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, this is what I'm trying to get out is John Perez and his crew and, everybody went a day early so they could see, well, the way he said, he's just being sweet. So he could see S.A. Slayer in Germany, and, so he was there just like a kid in a candy store and having a good time. And he came by our dressing room and came in. I'm sorry to bother you guys. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding?
Yeah.
Get in here,
Right.
And so he went a day early just so he could soak in the whole and see bands. And, I saw him in catering after our set and he was just like, yeah, just such a good cheerleader, man. And
yeah, he's a great guy.
yeah, he's
Got
great.
him on the show also, John Perez. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And the great thing is about, just to brag on Texas one more time, like you kind of were as well, by even saying Hell's Heroes is like this sort of like, scratching the surface and a germ pops out, like waking the demon. Right. And Solitude Aeturnus to go and headline, arguably the most prestigious, I'm not being derogatory, dinosaur festival, where it's a bunch of old school. Some of those bands that play there, they had a demo. They never even had a full record out.
Right.
And people want to go. Again, it really shows that even though Solitude Aeturnus has become this monster kind of thing in the doom scene in the underground,
Yeah.
the fact that, I'll say it again, I said this earlier, that Keep It True, and I bet Hell's Heroes is soon going to become this culture, same kind of culture, that the tickets for the year after are selling out,
Yeah.
8 months in advance. They're selling out when the promoters haven't even announced the headliner or even a third of the bands that are set to play.
Yeah. I think Hell's Heroes is already sort of, they're already doing that.
Yeah.
And they've only been around, was it like, was the last one?
9.
9. Okay.
I think it's 9. I
knew
want
it
to
was,
say 9. I could be wrong, but I think it's 9.
I'm pretty sure it's single digits, though. We can say that with some confidence. And,
Because I want to say the first couple were at a different venue. Now, I don't know. I don't know all things Hell's Heroes, but
yeah. But the fact that they're able to, continue it and have that sort of anticipation build up says a lot about the metal community and about the promoters who are smart enough and able to figure out, which bands that people have not been able to see in forever, and logistically, can they be put back together for an appearance? I mean, there's a lot of legwork that goes into that, and I think it's really cool that they're, trying to meet that need. And it just, to me, it says the promoters are fans, and that's the best. You know what I mean?
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I have to tell this. I should have got a photo like a 13-year-old girl. But anyway, Oliver Weinsheimer, the creator of Keep It True.
Yeah.
I'm upstairs and I'm looking through, the windows. I just happened to turn and I see Oliver basically cruising in. And, he's getting hugs and high fives and shaking hands with everybody, because everybody is talking to him and he's stopping and talking to everybody.
Yeah.
Of course. And because he's like that, he comes in, and by that time I was in the foyer where it's kind of, you can go this way down this hallway or out into the venue or around here to get on the stage. But he's going upstairs to the production office, of course. And I stopped him on the stairs and I thanked him profusely on behalf of S.A. Slayer dudes and Texas metal dudes. Thank you for making this, for inviting us to do this. And he's like, are you kidding me? I get to see S.A. Slayer on German soil for the first time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't even think of it that way.
Yeah.
So
that's my point.
Yeah. He helped, Christian Larson from Hell's Heroes is
Same
as well as Jarvis Leatherby.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's something going on. Those guys are sort of brainy together.
Yeah.
Jarvis he's a player.
Oh yeah.
Jarvis is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's very important to sort of, recognize these faces and these guys who this is their life and they're fans, like you said, and they're going to do anything and everything. Here's another thing, and I just because I really, really got a kick out of it, that when I got home and fired up, made sure the SA Slayer website was fired up, one of the first customers, if you will, was Blake Ibanez.
Yes.
Blake Ibanez. Say you say it however you want.
Ibanez.
Yeah. And he bought SA Slayer swag.
That's awesome.
And then when I fired it off to him, and as soon as he ripped it open, he took a picture and posted.
I saw that.
And you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
dude, that's the real. That's the real right there. And I just fucking got a kick out of that. Because he's a fan. We know that already, that he's a fan of all things. He's also very much, I feel like and become in his very young years has become a somewhat new ambassador of Texas metal.
Totally. Absolutely.
And he's not, it's not a crown that he is expected to wear.
Nah.
He has inadvertently become like a supporter of the old school because he's the new of the old, right?
Yeah.
If I'm messing that up or not, it doesn't matter. I don't give a shit. I'm just saying I
agree.
Yeah.
He's a Watchtower fan. He's an SA Slayer fan. He's one of those guys that he digs deep because he really wants to know everything and anything he can about the roots of the music he loves. And if he discovers a band that hasn't been around for 40 years and was around long before he was even born, that's fine. He wants to go down that rabbit hole, and apparently he wants to support too, because he's ordering SA Slayer shirts. And that's
I would have sent him a care package if I just would have known he was even interested. But the deal is this.
You're going to see him wearing that shirt on stage. I guarantee it.
That'd be fine.
He's going to cut the sleeves off, and you're going to see photos of him wearing that shirt.
Yeah, man. Well, he's a real, he's true. And, he likes a lot of the same shit that we like, you know?
Yeah.
What I dig about it, not to just, praise him even more, is he's, also this guy that's kind of like, him and the Fugitive guys and the Power Trip guy, it's like they're living in a crossover world in the way they write and create music, metal music.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot going on. Yeah. I mean, it's not just groove metal and thrash and mixed with death metal here and, whatever. And it's got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And, man, that's appreciated.
Yeah. I've been talking to him. We're going to have him back on the show soon.
Good.
Fugitive's about to release some new music, so I want to wait till that's out so we can have that to talk about. But Blake is the guy, and the bands that he's involved in, Fugitive and Power Trip, are just putting out some. I mean, Power Trip hasn't done anything in a while for obvious reasons, but Fugitive is putting out. To me, Fugitive is the best metal band on the planet right now. Coming from you, dude, that's a big deal. They are just explosive, man, and so good. And their influences are coming from all the right places, and their performances are spot on, and they're fans, and they respect the roots of everything that they are borrowing from and building their own music out of. And I mean, what more can you ask for? That's perfect. That's perfection.
Yeah.
So, real quick, before we close, I wanted to, this is going to sound like tooting our own horn, but I got a kick out of this when you told me the story. You said you were over in Germany and there were some people that listened to this podcast in Germany or something. You had some
Yeah,
people
I mean,
comment.
you know, it is called the World Wide Web, Dave.
It is the internet, yes.
It's the World Wide Web. Yeah, there would have, I mean, you know, I wasn't fishing.
Right, sure.
And someone that I'm just, you know, in a room full of people and someone just kind of leans in and goes, by the way, love the podcast.
Yeah.
Not really a podcast person, but I am now. So, you know, to hear people who are not podcast nerds become a podcast nerd because of our nerdy podcast is, that's a good banner. Yeah. So tooting our own horn, I wouldn't look at it. It's like humble shock.
Yes, that's very well put. Very well put. I get a kick out of that. You know, you hear it around Texas when you're out at a show or whatever, but for you to just
because we live here.
Yeah, but for you to hear it from somebody in Germany, that's awesome. I realize it's the World Wide Web, but it's really cool that unsolicited somebody just offered up that comment to you. So I thought that was really cool. But we appreciate.
Yeah, well, of course, we appreciate anybody listening and watching to the Talk Louder podcast going on 4 years now, I believe. After
it's more than 4 years. We hit 4 years in February.
You're scaring me. So yeah, we're still alive and we're still here after 4+ years. And hit subscribe.
Yeah,
while you're at it.
And we'll all keep our fingers crossed that we haven't heard the last of S.A. Slayer. I know everybody in the band is busy.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen because I almost sort of ended a sentence a little while ago with, you know, Dave and Don are, you know, busy and I'm busy and Ron's busy too. And, you know, whether it be with stuff outside of S.A. Slayer and Watchtower, he's busy. And I could say the same with me.
Yeah.
But, you know, there were people going, hey, I have a small record label. How about the new S.A. Slayer record? You know, on top of the fact that it's like, wait, what? You know, hey, we're just having fun and you know, Goon Squad and playing these songs that haven't been played live for fans who got into it that missed it. Whether they're overseas or they're too young, they missed it, you know, because Slayer never played outside of fucking Texas.
Right,
ever.
Right.
It was short-lived band. I mean, if you think 81 to 82 before it even got off the ground, and then by 84, early 85, it's done?
And yeah.
It's a sort of phenomenon kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, it's going to happen. Dave and Don are both, it's in their vocabulary. Like, well, we'll just keep stirring the soup until we can get the calendar days to line up right. So we can do an SA show, SA Slayer in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And by the way, I always thought that I think that this is cool. SASlayer.com, the shirts are printed in San Antonio by someone from San Antonio. It's Louis Catasalas. If I'm saying his last name wrong, I'm sorry, but he was in Devastation. He was in Hell Preacher or Death Tripper, or he's been in he was in Rotting Corpse. He's
in all the bands with the cool names.
Yeah, that's right. Louis is badass, but he's printing the shirts. He's from San Antonio. He was at probably every S.A. Slayer gig that was ever played in San Antonio. And so I just wanted to say, because it's legit that S.A. Slayer shirts are printed by one of the most badass San Antonians that could have a print shop. So the shirts are completely legit.
Go check it out, saslayer.com, for all your SA Slayer swag. Man, that was, I'm so happy for you guys, all of you guys, you stepping in for Steve Cooper, for the SA Slayer guys to sort of rekindle something that they built in the early 80s and something the fans haven't seen in 40 years. I think that's awesome. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that the calendars align and you guys can maybe continue to do additional dates at some point here in the future.
Well, that's what we want to do.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for that. That was awesome. Love the recap. On behalf of my co-host, Jason McMaster, I'm Metal Dave, thanking you all for listening and watching to another episode of the Talk Louder podcast.